What's up, guys? You're watching the Young Guns podcast, number one NHL podcast in the world. Today, we're going to be talking about a hot topic that's been ongoing for the last couple of months.
Not the store.
What do you mean?
There's a store called Hot Topic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
what? Really?
Yeah.
That's a store?
Yeah, it's a
I
store.
didn't know that was a store. I actually did not know that was a store.
Because my joke landed flat, but yeah, it's
Okay.
a store.
Okay, I actually did not know that. Anyways, yeah.
Anyways,
Lehner.
Robin Lehner. I think maybe. Is our Wi-Fi okay?
Yeah, we're doing good.
Okay,
I think
okay.
we're well connected.
Yeah, it should be. It looks
Okay.
good. I mean, it
Sorry,
looks good.
guys.
Looks
Just
okay. But no,
making sure.
essentially, Vegas goalie Robin Lehner, he accused NHL teams of medical malpractice, which is kind of funny because that's actually how this uh, Jack Eichel situation all started. Because basically, in the article that was written on ESPN, Robin Lehner accused NHL teams of medical malpractice, including offering benzodiazepines and Ambien to players without prescriptions. Then he made allegations on Twitter on Saturday. In an effort, he told ESPN to call attention to the surgery stalemate between his former teammate Jack Eichel and the Buffalo Sabres. The Swedish goalie threatened to release one story a day unless things get fixed. And basically, he started talking about how much mistakes he made. He called out Alain Vigneault too for the way he treated Nolan Patrick in Florida.
He denied
Philly,
those
sorry.
claims during a press conference that he had a couple of days later after the accusations were
And
made.
then when it came time to Leonard then told ESPN that he was unsettled that more people weren't talking about what was going on with Jack Eichel and stepping up for him. Leonard said he wished more players spoke up on Eichel's behalf. Leonard and Eichel were teammates in Buffalo for 3 seasons from 2015 to 2018. And in the goalie's tweet, he wrote that the Sabres mishandled a high ankle sprain that he had suffered, which required surgery. Essentially, what we're talking about here and why we're bringing up the Robin Leonard situation is because Robin Leonard is essentially trying to tell people that in the NHL they're not treating players correctly when it comes to injuries, etc. And he mentioned the Buffalo Sabres because when he was playing for Buffalo, they they didn't treat his ankle sprain properly to the point where he almost died. Apparently, that's what he was saying on Twitter. And so now he's very mad about how they've handled Jack Eichel. And coming in on Jack Eichel, the dialogue between Jack Eichel and the Buffalo Sabres essentially is that Jack Eichel wants a surgery where he gets a fusion in his neck. Now, the fusion in his neck has never been given to a professional athlete of this caliber before. And so the reason why the Buffalo Sabres are so nervous about giving him this surgery is because it's something that we don't know what the long-term effects are going to be. And at the same time, he may come back in the NHL and not be the same player that he was. So the nervous thoughts that come out of Buffalo is that, okay, this guy may not be the same player. The problem is that Buffalo's forcing him to get another surgery that has that Jack Eichel doesn't want to get. And so now the debate is, okay, what does Jack Eichel deserve? Does he deserve what does Jack Eichel do? Well, essentially, I think, and this is my opinion, I think he should get the surgery that he wants to get. The problem is Buffalo's not letting him get that
Well, I mean,
surgery.
he also wants out of the team because they're
Yeah, but
garbage.
besides the reason why he wants out of the team is because of the surgery. The surgery is the main reason why he wants out. Because I think that if he gets the surgery and none of this thing happens,
But is it but my question is, without the surgery, could he still play?
we don't know. That's
We
where
don't know.
there's an uncertainty there because he may come back in the NHL and not be able to play. Like the surgery that he wants to have is a surgery that might either A, bring him back to the NHL and not be the same player that he was, or B, he may never be able to play hockey
Okay,
again.
but what if
because,
he doesn't get it at all?
well, then
He can still
that's the
play.
thing. That's where he's at now.
And this is the question now because Buffalo is refusing to release these medical records. So then you have this whole situation, Robert Lehner making out these accusations
Yeah.
concerning the illegal medication that's been given to these players. And one of the players he mentioned was Nolan Patrick, who so happens to be his teammate now that got traded from Philly to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So maybe there was some dialogue there, and he told the team, like, I'm very grateful to be with you guys because, in Philly, they did a lot of sketchy stuff.
What?
So going back to what I was trying to say is that only recently now, apparently, with the NHL getting involved and the NHL Players Association getting involved
Yeah.
after Leonard made these comments, now they're really pushing Buffalo to make a deal where Jack Eichel is essentially going to be traded by the end of preseason,
Well,
beginning
they're
of the
saying
season. That's their goal. Is it going to happen? I'm not too sure.
Well,
The
it's because
thing-
they're asking too much.
well, the thing is that's the thing, and I think that what the problem with a Jack Eichel trade, and this is what I think is kind of making this whole situation a bit complicated, is because Buffalo's coming out and asking for an enormous price, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, Jack Eichel's worth what he's getting asked for from the Buffalo Sabres. The problem is that teams are looking at this going, okay, but we don't know if he's going to be able to play again, number one. Number two, we don't have his medical records because you're not giving them to us. And number three, we need to know, like, if this surgery is safe, the surgery that he wants to get, if it's safe enough for him to do it. And so now what the problem is that Buffalo's kind of in this middle because they're like, we're not selling him for anything. We're not trading him for anything. We don't want to trade him. And teams are like, well, we want Jack Eichel, but we want his medical records. And Buffalo are like, no. And so how are Buffalo expected to make a trade if they're not going to give them the medical records? Because now you're in a stalemate now. You're just kind of like, okay, well, whatever, like give us what we want. Well, the team's not going to trade you if they don't know the player's status. And Jack Eichel wants to get out of there. So now there's a whole big dilemma because it's like, okay, Jack wants to go. Buffalo doesn't seem like they want to trade him because it doesn't look like they want to trade him. They keep saying they want to trade him, but they're finding every loophole in the book not to trade him. So now the league got involved. And
well, the league got involved because Robin Lehner played
Well,
the role of the catalyst.
That's just it. I think what the problem with the NHL with this whole situation is that now it needs to get resolved. Like at some point, this guy's got to get
So the
traded.
league is involved now.
But
they're communicating teams
league-
on
the
the
league
behalf
gets
of the
involved.
Buffalo Sabres to see
But we
who's
haven't-
willing to take on Jack Eichel.
anyways, the teams look. There's a lot of teams that were interested in Jack Eichel. One team that I know for sure that has been talked about a lot is the LA Kings, and I think that the LA Kings make a lot of sense. But
I don't think it makes any sense. that he ends up
we'll
there.
we'll talk about it. Essentially, for LA, why I could see them making sense is because they've got prospects, they've got players that they can trade away. But I think one thing that makes sense is that Buffalo's been asking for a couple of first round picks, some prospects, and a roster player. And I think LA's got those tools. And you know what makes it good with LA is that if they get a player of Jack Eichel's caliber, we're talking about an LA Kings team that's speeding up their rebuild, and they're going to be a better team. The thing is that again, is LA going to be willing to give him the fusion surgery that he is desperately
Yeah,
wanting?
but not only that, who would they give up to get him?
That's the thing. Like here's where my confusion comes in, and you might be able to elaborate on this too. Nobody knows Jack Eichel's value, and the reason why nobody knows Jack Eichel's value is because nobody knows whether he's going to play or not, right? And so that's the biggest question: is that okay? Yeah, what's your asking price, but also what's his value? Because you have to think about it. Jack Eichel left more than halfway through last season. He hasn't skated since, and if he has, he's left the ice after a couple of minutes. He hasn't skated since, and he's not expected to start the year. And he's supposed to get surgery that hasn't been given by to professional athletes of his caliber before. So there's a huge risk there. And so that's the biggest question mark is that, okay, what's Jack Eichel's value? And in your opinion, what do you think Jack Eichel's value
Well-
is? And what do you think Jack Eichel's value is?
Definitely 2 first rounders.
Essentially, before
Even
we get
now?
to the whole value
No,
thing,
yeah.
I want to
Even with
bring
the
up
injury
what,
and everything.
It's sorry,
the
but
NHL Watcher
Go ahead.
quoted and posted on Twitter is essentially it was an interview on TSN 1050, and it was Martin Biron, ex NHL goaltender. He's retired, and he was talking and giving his own opinion on the whole Jack Eichel situation. And as stated here, as you guys could see on the screen, he's saying right now it's very difficult for Jack Eichel to be traded, even more difficult than it was in the summer, because who's going to take on his $10 million contract? That's a huge cap hit, obviously, for any team to take.
Absolutely.
And obviously, there's a lot of non-contenders, I would say, like the Ottawa Senators, that probably could afford him. But again, they have to sign a guy like Brady Tkachuk. But we're going to get into that in a
But they have the
couple of
cap
minutes.
space. Ottawa has the
Yeah.
cap space.
So going on, continuing to what Biron was saying is that they would need the Buffalo Sabres would need to take on a contract of $8 million or $8.5 million in return, and that poses the question. Maybe a team we're going to be talking about after that has a player that's on the LTIR that could be involved in a Jack Eichel deal. Not only that, continuing to what he's saying is that he doubts that Jack Eichel is even going to play a single game this season because, yeah, he's going to get traded. He's going to be owned by a different team. And at that point, he still needs surgery. How long is this surgery going to take? It could take 4 months, 6 months. And we're talking about potential, according to what the reports are saying in the summer, a potential career-ending injury. So now we're at this whole debate now. Is he going to be the same when he comes back? Is he going to come back at all? Who's going to take on his contract? What's his trade value? There's so many questions.
There's so many questions.
So, yeah.
I personally think, and I'm being dead honest when I say this, I personally think Buffalo is at the biggest disadvantage here because, first of all, they're idiots. They don't know how to run a hockey team. And I'm being dead honest when I say that because you have a guy who wants to get traded. Now, I get it. When a guy wants to get traded, trade value goes down. And that, I'm not taking anything away. But you have an opportunity here, okay, where you could have told Jack Eichel, because again, it's his body, right? If he wants to get the surgery, let him get the damn surgery. Don't force the guy not to get. If he wants to get it, just let him get it. And then what happens is once he gets this surgery, you can evaluate after if he's going to be able to play at a high level again. And then you can judge his value based on that. But by you saying, well, we're not giving you the medical records, and we're not giving you this, and we're not giving you that, and we're not going to trade you this, and we're not going to trade you that. Yes, they're being firm, but that's all an ego play. Buffalo doesn't actually want to trade Jack Eichel because I'm sorry, if people are saying Buffalo wants to trade Jack Eichel and they're exploring trade options, well, they're not. Because if they wanted to trade him, they would have got it done by
They
now.
would have gotten traded a long time
That's
ago.
what I'm saying. So we're in a position here where Buffalo's like, well, yeah, we want to trade him, or we're exploring trade options. No, you're not. You're clearly not. Because if you were, he would have been gone. And so the question now becomes is Buffalo really serious about trading Jack Eichel, or are they going to let him suffer the way he's been suffering this whole time? Because if they're going to let him suffer, it's going to be a problem because the league now has to figure out a decision because they're talking about suspending Jack Eichel. Why are you suspending a guy when you're not giving him this? You're not even giving him an option. It's you take our surgery or you don't play, and it's a bit stupid.
Before we get into the teams, the realistic trade destinations for Jack Eichel, concerning all the info that we have concerning obviously Jack Eichel's medical records, the teams that are interested, what's Buffalo's essential big plan to unload Jack Eichel. I just wanted to mention that this is a classic situation of how much power does the player have? And essentially, in this case, he has no power at all. It's the organization that has all the power. And, getting in the way of a surgery that he wants to do, I mean, that's violating the right for him to make his own decisions with his own body. So, that's horrible to start with. And that's why you have a guy like Robin Lehner, whether if you like him or don't like him, and you question his mental health, that's a whole different story. But honestly, I think we need more players like that that speak the truth and are going to say things. And he even threatened the league, saying that he's going to come up with a lot of things that are going to cause a lot more problems. So that's why the NHL and the NHL Players Association got involved, because they don't need more accusations against him. You already have a situation like Vander Kane that's making the league look bad because it's continuous problems with that guy and they still haven't handled it properly, and he's still in the league. So now you have another situation with the Jack Eichel thing. And how many more cases are going to come up in order for the NHL to do something? So now, finally, over the last couple of years, now it's a big name player, household name, a franchise player in Jack Eichel, and now that's why they're getting scared, because it's a guy that brings in a lot of revenue towards the NHL, sells a lot of jerseys, sells a lot of tickets for the Buffalo Sabres. So essentially, the league and the organization are losing at this point. So you need to get this guy on a different team, and it's reached a point now where he doesn't care where he goes. He just needs a change of scenery.
He played for Arizona if he wanted to. Anyways, I want to play a little game with you guys. So, essentially, what's going to happen here is if Jack Eichel gets traded, where do you think he's going to go? Name me 2 teams that you think he should go
before
to.
we get to that, I want to.
And you should name me 2 teams that you think he should go to. And I have a team in mind that I really want to talk about because I think he wants to get traded there. Okay? And
I'm going to show the teams that are interested. This is on our Twitter page right now, from the Hockey Hound. So according to Darren Drager, the teams that are interested in acquiring Jack Eichel as of right now are the Los Angeles Kings, and he's saying perhaps the Philadelphia Flyers and the New York Rangers are not in on Eichel. But
the Ducks, they said they were the Ducks, and I want to talk about the Ducks.
But before you continue, but apparently they said that the Rangers are not in it, but they're willing to make accommodations in order to take on Jack Eichel. So there's a lot of like he said, they said, and there's so much confusion going on. So as an NHL fan, scrolling down Twitter, we're all wondering what is factual and what is fiction. Who's saying the things that actually do make sense, that are the things that are actually going on between Jack Eichel, the Buffalo Sabres, and all these teams. And now we have the NHL and the NHL Players Association involved. So, everyone's like trying to trump everybody when it comes to information. No, my information's correct. No, your information's correct. And at this point, we can't really speculate anymore because it's reached a point where we've been speculating for months, and now it's just you're gonna have to wait and see. And when the deal is finalized and it's announced on Twitter, either by someone on TSN, such as like maybe Bob McKenzie maybe breaks the news, or Elliot Freeman or Chris Johnson or Frank Savarelli or anybody at this point, that's the only way you're going to find out. And then later on, maybe through interviews and stuff, when the story's like maybe 5 years old, Jack Eichel's going to have a sit down interview and discuss, everything that went down, and then that's the only time we're really going to find out. But right now, it's basically what's the right fit for him concerning the cap space and the trade value and what the teams have in order to trade for Jack Eichel.
I think the right fit for Jack Eichel, and obviously you guys are going to give your opinions too as to where he thinks he's going to go. But I have a team, and I was saying this from the last couple of days. I've been telling you guys about it. I personally believe the best fit for Jack Eichel is Anaheim. And the reason why I believe that so strongly is because you have a situation in Anaheim where they have the cap space, they have the players they can get rid of, and you're going to build a team in Anaheim where it's going to be him, Zegras, and Drysdale. And it's a situation there where obviously people are like, oh, Buffalo's going to ask for Zegras. Let's face it, Anaheim's not trading Zegras, and they're not trading away Drysdale. Not for a Jack Eichel that they don't even know if he's going to play. So essentially, I think the best fit in Anaheim, it works. And the reason why it works is because you've got a situation where Jack Eichel is going to be there. He's going to be playing on a line with Zegras likely. You put Zegras on the winger. If not, you can even have a 1-2 punch. And you're getting yourself a legit player who's going to change that franchise. And I think it makes sense for Anaheim because they're kind of on the rebuild, but they're kind of going on the up a little bit. They've made some good acquisitions and stuff too. They've got a good goalie in John Gibson already. Their decor is not bad and definitely decent. And they need a guy like Jack Eichel. And if they get a guy like Jack Eichel to play on a team with Zegras and Drysdale, and you add a couple of more pieces there, you're looking at an Anaheim Ducks team that could do some damage. And I think the best fit for him is Anaheim. And obviously they've been linked with him and stuff. I just think it makes the most amount of sense to go to Anaheim because they've got the pieces to trade for him, number one. And number two, they're just, in my opinion, they're the favorite because it's just the best fit, in my opinion. But you obviously, I know that you had your opinions on where you think he could go. Where do you think he could go?
Here you go.
This one's
Controversial.
He's talked about it all week, so you might as well
listen,
bring it up.
It's between two. For me, it's between two teams.
Yeah.
I would think the Ottawa Senators, they have the pieces for it. They have the cap space.
Absolutely.
But the thing is that let's say I'm Jack Eichel. I came from Buffalo. That's a pretty garbage team. And I'm going to Ottawa. That is it really any better there?
Well, I mean, they're rebuilding. They're on the up.
Yeah.
Ottawa's on the up.
And
it's
reached a
really
point.
Yeah,
where
I
he
get
wants
they're
to
on
play
the up.
anywhere.
By the time they're ready to contend, he's gonna be what, 30?
No.
He's 25 right now.
Dude, Ottawa's
Give
gonna
them
be
2
ready.
to 3 years.
I'll be honest,
2
bro,
3 years, but they
he's-
have to
he's
trade
20
away pieces
he's
that are
turning
key
20
to them
He's
being
turning 25
better.
October 28th, but 28th.
And he's
Okay.
probably not going to play this season.
He's not playing
so-
this season,
Okay,
but
but it
they're
doesn't
giving.
matter. Ottawa's moving up on the. Ottawa's on the.
I
up.
get that, but they're giving away. They're gonna have to give away some key players
Yeah,
to get
Brand-
It's
Jack
not gonna
Eichel.
be. It's not gonna be detrimental to their rebuild. Like if they
Maybe
sign
Brand-
Kachuk,
Brandstrom, I don't know.
if they if
I get if they sign, they're not gonna trade him, but Stutzel is a player
he's
that
not gonna
they're
move.
gonna want to ask for him.
because you have to think about it this way, bro. The value, what teams value in terms of Jack Eichel is that like Ottawa's not gonna turn around and be like, we'll give you Stützle for Eichel. Like it's not gonna happen.
No,
and the
not one
reason-
for one. That's not
They're
what I'm
gonna
saying.
wanna
They're
add
gonna add
pieces.
other things. But I'm
Yeah,
just
but,
saying is he's involved in that, and he's a key piece
I
for
don't know if
Ottawa.
he's involved in that.
He's
This is
don't
how
know.
I
It's a bit
view it, okay?
complicated, but
And this
yeah.
ties into Brady Tkachuk. He hasn't. There's a reason why he hasn't signed long term because he wants a top centerman to play with. Okay, Brady Tkachuk. Where is he from? United States. Where is Jack Eichel from? United States. And who's available right now? Jack Eichel. And who can afford Jack Eichel? The Ottawa Senators. So if you get a guy like Jack Eichel on the team, it's gonna push the chances of Brady Tkachuk signing a long-term deal over a short-term deal. Because right now, he hasn't signed. So for me, that's your franchise player right now, Brady Tkachuk. You need to make your franchise player happy. You need to convince him to stay.
I mean, I don't really. I'll be honest. I think he's gonna sign regardless in Ottawa. I think whether Eichel comes or doesn't go, I think he's gonna sign eventually because that's what's gonna happen. But to your point, Ottawa's in a position where they've got. If Kachuk signs, they've got Kachuk. They have Batherson, who seems like he's going to be a really good player. They have Josh Norris, who a lot of people, I think he's underrated. They've got Tim Stützle. You've got those four guys,
They have
right? Now, those four
Shane
guys
Pinto,
are
too.
Shane Pinto as well. 5, sorry. They've got 5 guys who, in my opinion, are going to be very good players in the or very decent players in the NHL. Like guys that could get 60 points.
I get that, but if
right?
not one, 2 would have to leave to get
They have other
Eichel.
pieces. You know how many draft picks they have?
Ottawa's
but they would have
draft
to
picks.
get-
Ottawa.
they would
You
have
know how
to
many
get rid of
prospects?
draft picks
Yeah,
as
but
well,
do you know how
you
many
know?
prospects Ottawa has?
They have so many.
And here's where I'm gonna say my other team. I know the cap space doesn't work out, and I know I sound like a fanboy, and I know yes, I would love to have Jack Eichel on the team, but I think Montreal Canadiens do have a chance of getting him. They do.
I don't think they have.
We
any
have the
chance
best. We have the
whatsoever.
best prospects
honest.
who are NHL ready. Like they could play in the NHL right now.
A couple of them, I would agree, but not everybody.
Well, I mean the key players that were linked to Jack Eichel, and when they were first
Yeah,
the
Goalie,
rumors,
Norlinder.
Norlinder, Primo,
I mean,
which
Keiki at the time, even
and
though
they
he's gone.
they desperately need a goalie. Who's their goalies? A nobody.
Craig Anderson.
They have Aaron Dell that was put on waivers recently,
It's
and they
Craig
have
Anderson
Dustin
and Dustin
Tokarski.
Tokarski.
Exactly. So Primo wouldn't
Yeah,
be
but
that bad.
Buffalo
He's
Buffalo
up and
doesn't want to
coming.
be good.
And not only
I
that,
don't
but
think. Not right now.
to
Poor
get
fan base.
for
So sorry,
them
guys.
for them to trade Jack Eichel away, they would need to get someone they would have to get a package that's worth close to him.
It just
What
doesn't
is
make
it?
sense.
8
You get a
million.
guy like Christian Dvorak. Okay. Not only that, they would have to throw in a contract, and are Buffalo really willing to take on Shea Weber's contract?
Well, probably not. That's not what I was thinking of. I was
But
thinking maybe
they need to respect the
That
salary
could work
cap.
though. If
No,
they do,
but
if they
what I
take,
was
if they-
thinking
even
of-
if they don't take, actually, if they don't take, it doesn't work for the Habs because the Habs have Weber on LTIR, and so even if they trade Weber's contract, they won't be able to bring Eichel in
It just
because
doesn't
they're
make
still going to be
sense.
over the
but
cap.
that's what. But I'm not talking about trading away Shea Weber because honestly, if I'm Buffalo, I wouldn't take that deal. No chance.
Well, they take his contract.
What I would think is they would take many players that would be equivalent to 8 million. So 100% goalie, Norlinder, one of them, or if not both, would be involved in this deal.
Okay, you have to think. Think about
Then
it from this perspective.
then you would have Joel Armia and you would have Lehkonen because they're young guys, they're NHL ready, and that team needs depth, right? Like they have young guys, but they need some guys that know
But they're
what they're
probably
doing
going to want a
too.
top 6 forward in return. And Armia, it's debatable.
look,
Yeah.
If you look at Montreal's
And
cap
Lehkonen,
situation-
forget it.
But
He's
but
a
listen,
top
then
9
then
player,
you
not a
then
top-
like be honest, maybe they lost a lot on defense too. This team lost a lot everywhere really. So if you think of it, maybe Romanov could be part of that deal. And listen, I get Romanov. People are saying that he's going to be the guy in Montreal, but so far from what I see is
You have to give the guy time. Defense and
I know,
playing
but
center are the hardest positions.
I get
That's
it, but
just
like he's.
I'll be honest.
yeah.
I like better from what I've seen from Norlinder and Gouli than I have Romanov.
I look at the Habs, okay, and they're not trading Gallagher, no matter what.
No,
Jonathan, wait,
but what I'm saying is,
Jonathan
why would
Drouin,
they
Jonathan,
wouldn't take Gallagher because he's 30.
he's 29.
First of all,
Well, he's
Gallagher-
gonna be 30. But
Okay,
if
but
you're
the other
giving
thing
away a
is, too-
25-year-old franchise player, you're gonna need young player.
Okay,
That's why I'm saying
can't-
Armia Lehkonen would be perfect.
Okay, but let me say something. Jonathan Drouin, they're not going to trade away because he has a modified no trade clause and he's not going to go to Buffalo. Josh Anderson, forget it. He's not going to get traded. Mike Hoffman, you just signed. You're not going to trade him. Dvorak, you got in a trade. You're not trading him. Tyler Toffoli, he's had a good season and he's under a really good contract. They're not going to trade him. Then you've got Joel Armia. The problem with Joel Armia is they just signed him to a $3.4 million contract. I don't see a situation where Montreal trades him unless maybe out of the ordinary they do, but I don't see a situation where they trade Joel Armia. Not at that
Like
cap hit.
just to cut the
And,
Montreal
and you look at
Canadiens.
Arturi Lehkonen, that's the only one that makes sense to me.
Just to cut the Montreal Canadiens out of the scenario completely.
Yeah, I don't
There's
see it. I don't see it.
there's key points
really
that
don't see it.
eliminates the chances of happening. Okay,
Absolutely.
they have Christian Dvorak. They got their center
Yep.
for an affordable price. Okay,
That's it.
not only that, they don't have the cap space. Not only that, they're
They
not
could
willing.
make the cap space though.
It's way too complicated.
They're gonna have to move
There's
around
so
a lot.
much.
And right now, there's
You
a
know how
lot of
much- you know
injuries
how
on the
much
team. There's
moves
a
they
lot
have
of
to
things
make
going
to
on
make
in the
that
team right
happen?
now. Anyways, continuing to what I was saying, the Montreal Canadiens do not want to give up their future. They want to see what they have in store, and they're going to give them a fair chance. And you have the whole debate of whether they're going to develop properly or not. That's a whole different story. But as of right now, it just doesn't make sense for them.
Absolutely
So
not.
moving on to the next team, a team that's highly been linked to Jack Eichel,
New York
and that is New York Rangers. And why is that? Well, you have Zibanejad and Strome that are on 1-year deals that are going to be expiring soon. And can you afford those guys? And at the same time,
Yeah, but why would Buffalo want them?
Well, Zibanejad's a great center, and if you're
They're
trading Jack
elite
Eichel, you go
players.
get Mika Zibanejad.
Zibanejad hasn't even been playing
I mean,
great
Ryan Strome's debatable,
with
but
Panarin.
What are you talking
Zibanejad is definitely
You're-
With
a
Panarin.
not
Dude,
an elite
Who's he
player.
gonna be playing
Okay,
with in Buffalo?
Okay, first of all,
It doesn't matter. It
just
doesn't
just to
matter.
let you know, with Zibanejad in 57 games in 1920 with Panarin, he had 41 goals, 34 assists, 75 points, and 57 games. Last year, in 56 games, keep in mind he had COVID for
He had a bad year last year.
he had 50 points in 56 games. And that's also because the first 10 games of the season, he was struggling because he had just come back from COVID and he wasn't feeling well. And he had only 2 points during the first 10 games of the season that he had
Look,
played.
Cutting back to
So,
what I was saying before,
I don't think it's a bad season. He's a
they
great
need
player.
to make sure that both these guys are willing to sign for affordable contracts. They're going to fit under the salary cap that they have available. Obviously, they're going to make some cap room, to make accommodations for the players. But at the same time, you need to make sure these guys want to sign, because if they don't want to sign, you're losing 2 top players in your organization for absolutely nothing. And you don't want that to happen. So what are you going to do? You're going to go trade for another top caliber player that's available, okay? And he's already under contract. Obviously, you're going to have to give more pieces. You're not going to give a guy on an expiring contract and that's it, because his value is lower despite how good they are. So you're going to have to give prospects. You're going to have to give picks as well.
If I'm the Rangers, okay, now the Rangers make sense, and the reason why I think the Rangers make sense is because you don't even have to move Zibanejad. You trade Ryan Strome, he's got $4.5 million, right, which would work because Eichel's $10 million. The Rangers have $7 million in cap space. You have to eliminate $3 million. He makes 4.5, so already you're cap compliant right there. Then Buffalo wants prospects, so you get your roster player in Ryan Strome, who's not a bad. He's a second line, third line center who's decent.
No,
Okay?
he's second line center.
What, you
Whatever.
think they're gonna give up Capo Caco or
That's what I
Lafreniere?
was just about to say.
Yeah,
I
and
think they'll
agree
give
with
up
that too.
Vitaly Kravtsov and Capo, or one of Vitaly Kravtsov or Capo Caco. I don't think the trade.
I would have to throw in a defenseman. in
Dude,
there,
Capo
in that
Caco.
deal
You're
too.
the GM of the Buffalo Sabres. You're gonna take Capo Caco for Jack Eichel?
Not one on
Not
one.
right away. I'm throwing him into a deal. with
There's
other
no
pieces.
way in any scenario for any team that they're only going to give up one player for Jack Eichel.
No.
It's
I'm
gonna be a
not saying
package
one for
deal.
one, but even with a package deal, like Capo Caco to me
No,
is
okay. Look, you do this. The Rangers have a first round
He's a
pick.
nobody.
You trade your first round pick.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
put it this way.
unproven, but
The
you never
Rangers are
know.
going to be a playoff team, right? So you trade their first round pick. You trade two first round picks. Okay. You then trade away Ryan Strome. That's your cap compliant right there. Then you give up Kravtsov, who is 21 years old, highly touted prospect for the Rangers. He gets into the deal. That's one of your prospects because they want 2 prospects. And you trade away Capo Caco because if Capo Caco goes to Buffalo, he'll actually play top minutes
But you're
because
gonna
there's
have
nobody
to-
in Buffalo. And that makes the most amount of sense. They're not trading Lafreniere because it's not going to happen.
Okay, but let's say they get Jack Eichel, right? And they give up what you just said.
Yeah.
Okay. How much cap space do they have left to sign
They're
Zibanejad?
going to have. That doesn't matter. You don't resign Zibanejad after.
So you're saying instead of going the Austin Matthews Tavares route, they're gonna get Jack Eichel as a replacement for Zibanejad,
essentially, yeah.
and you're still, but you're
Well,
giving up Ryan Strome.
Okay, but that's
so that means you're down a center.
Yeah, but okay. The other thing is this. Let me tell you this. Yes, you're trading away Ryan Strome, but Jack Eichel feels that need, and then when it comes time to re-sign Zibanejad, when the time comes, you can figure it out afterwards.
But you said he's not gonna get signed.
Yeah, because I don't think they're gonna. If they get Jack Eichel, I don't think they're gonna re-sign Zibanejad. But you're talking about how would they do it? Well, if the Rangers
So
really
might
want
as
to
well
sign
trade Zibanejad, knowing that Ryan Strome's gonna cost you less.
Well, no, because the other thing is Mika Zibanejad's not going to waive his no move clause to go to Buffalo. Nobody's going to waive their no move clause to go to Buffalo. Let's be honest. Nobody's going to do it. And if you went up to Mika Zibanejad and said, "Hey,
obviously not.
We're trading you. Waive your no move clause. You're going to Buffalo." He's going to turn around and be like, "Why? I don't have to waive my no move clause. Why would I do that? Why would anyone in their right mind waive their no move clause to go to Buffalo?"
See, and this is going back to what I was saying before.
It's not
See,
gonna happen.
look at the debate we're having right now. This is all because no one truly knows what's going on. No one knows
Nobody even knows his value.
No one knows who could afford him or who wants to even take on that contract, especially with the scenario
Well,
and the medical records.
You're basically gambling. You know
Yeah,
his value.
you're
He's a
gambling.
franchise player, but on the other hand, you could get a DPHO.
Because
know?
he's a franchise player who may never be a
Play
franchise
again.
player again.
Exactly.
because of injuries. Yeah, and that's a good comparison.
But
to
in a way,
Petro
you
because
like listen.
he had the
Any
value, but
GM, if
injuries killed his career.
this is why I
And he
think
signed
that
a lot of ludicrous contract.
this is
too.
why I think the Habs. I know you guys think it makes no sense,
It
but
doesn't.
if the Habs get rid of the pieces that they're getting rid of, yes, they're getting rid of a lot. Yes, they're potentially great players. Some of them are ready to play in the NHL. But if Jack Eichel, let's say the Habs did get him, and let's say they traded away all those guys that I mentioned before, if he doesn't play Jack Eichel, we didn't really lose like key players that were key players to our team right now.
No, but what you're okay. So let me ask you this.
And every other team has key players to lose that if Jack Eichel doesn't
Okay.
play, they massively got fleeced.
Again, what you're saying is, well, if Jack Eichel doesn't play again, the Habs don't lose anything. Well, they do because they're trading away first round picks that you can use to draft.
First round
trading
picks
away
that are
from-
going to be low.
Doesn't matter about the what
They're going to be
level.
low.
It doesn't matter
If
what
the
level.
Rangers do
You're
the
still-
trade
you're
that you're
giving-
talking
you get it.
about, they're going to be losing a center. They're going to be losing so much depth
But
that their first round picks are going to be high.
I'm basing the value on from the trade that I made, the proposed trade that I made, was I'm basing my value on Jack Eichel as an elite player coming back to being an elite player. Right? That's the value that I'm basing it off. And if you're basing it off that, that's a fair value trade for Jack Eichel. If you're talking about Jack Eichel being not the same player, then obviously it's and this is what he was saying before about it being complicated because nobody knows the official value of Jack Eichel because nobody knows what's going to happen. And so the biggest question mark is what do you trade away and how do you go about it? Because at the end of the day, whether you're the Canadians, whether you're the LA Kings, the Anaheim Ducks, all the teams that are interested, the Calgary Flames, whatever it is, all those teams that are interested are all thinking about, well, if we trade these guys, how are we 100% certain that what we're getting back is going to end up being what we wanted? You know what I mean?
But
I'll
see,
give
I don't think you see the only team I see. Honestly, if the Habs make it, the cap space is what really like
it's
affects the Habs.
virtually impossible.
It's not
but
virtually
is
impossible. It's
virtually
doable.
impo- it's
Listen, if
not
Marc
doable.
Bergevin wanted Jack Eichel, he'll do anything to get Jack Eichel.
I just-
Look,
He's a very controversial guy. He'll make this.
disagree.
He'll make the crazy moves, and especially when it comes
Yeah,
to
I
Marc
agree with
Bergevin.
that, but
not when you're
I
not
wanna
when
move
you're $7
away
million
from
Sen-
Central
but
Canadians.
Senators would be the other team. But does Jack Eichel really want to go play there?
He has no say at this,
At this point, he has no say because he doesn't have a.
Not only is it really being controlled by the Buffalo Sabres, but I mean, the NHL has gotten involved with the NHL Players Association where they're trying to find a suitor for him. So whether if it's Arizona or if it's the Senators or the Sharks or any team that could afford him, I'm just naming names, just teams like that. It's just about the fit at this point, concerning the cap space and the
Well,
trade value.
actually-
and they're not going to get full trade value, unfortunately, for Jack Eichel. But before you continue, I just want to mention the two last teams that I think that could potentially take a realistic run, like we mentioned before, the LA Kings and the Calgary Flames. I know you had a couple of things to say concerning the Calgary Flames last time you brought it up.
with the
say what you
Calgary
got to say
with
before that. I don't think
with
that-
with the,
anything else.
well, I'm gonna bring up
Okay.
this situation first. So Jack Eichel's contract is actually very interesting because he makes $10 million this year, right? And so if he gets traded, he has no say on where he goes because he has no contract, move clause, whatever, right? He can go wherever the hell Buffalo sends him. Next season, his no move clause kicks in. And that's where he decides where he wants to go. So if you're the Buffalo Sabres, you have until next July to make sure that Jack Eichel is no
He'll
longer
be
on your
traded
team.
by then.
Because if he is not traded by next July, which
They
at the rate
failed.
which at the rate we're going, it's probably not going to happen.
I mean,
but
they failed
anyways,
already, to be honest.
I mean,
but-
yeah. But the thing is this: if he's not traded by next July, then Jack Eichel will turn around and be like, "Yo, listen, I give you here's my 5-team trade list. You can only trade me to these 5 teams." And then you're Buffalo, and you have to go to these teams and be like, "Yo, what do you want to do for Jack Eichel?" And these teams
But
might
he
be like,
won't
"No."
be picky. And here's the thing, because he wants to leave at this point.
Yeah, but when a player has a say on where he wants to go, it makes things more
The
complicated.
Buffalo Sabres couldn't even get a deal done right now, where
Anyways,
he
the
has no
point-
say.
Yeah, because that's them being stubborn. But anyways, the point is going back to the Calgary Flames and what I wanted to say about that. Calgary makes the most another team that makes sense for me, and the reason why they make sense is because I'm again basing it off of Jack Eichel coming back to being Jack Eichel. Okay, you have a situation in Buffalo where. Don't get me wrong, winning is not a priority for them, clearly, because if winning was a priority, they would have handled the situation better. Clearly, Buffalo doesn't give a shit about winning right now. They only care about
They'll never
getting
win.
the situation
I
done or
feel bad
whatever.
for their fans.
So, yeah, and they have great fans. But essentially,
They're
this
passionate,
is a
but they're a very
situation
garbage
where I
team.
think it makes the
Doesn't
most
treat
amount of
them right.
sense. Johnny Gaudreau does not want to be in Calgary. Now, am I saying that he wants to go to Buffalo? No. But what I'm saying is he doesn't want to be in Calgary, and I don't think he's going to come back to Calgary at the end of the season. If you're Buffalo, you take Johnny Gaudreau, you take Sean Monahan, because let's face it, Sean Monahan
Overrated.
and he gets paid $6.3 million. He could go enjoy himself in Buffalo. Nobody's going to give a shit. Calgary's not going to care because they're getting Jack Eichel, right? What Calgary does essentially, they missed the playoffs this year. They get Jack Eichel, but then they get their number 1 caliber player. And what that does for that team is it has a situation where their first line is Matt Tkachuk, Jack Eichel, Elias Lindholm. And they still have cap space to go around and buy other players because you traded away Monahan. You're not bringing back Gaudreau. And what that does is it gives Calgary the opportunity to kind of move up and build their team around Jack Eichel. And this is what I'm saying about the realism of having cap space. Calgary at the moment has currently $1 million in cap space. But
But
if
see,
they
why would Gaudreau want to leave if they're gonna get Eichel?
He wants to get paid.
because he
It's
wants to get paid.
essential.
He
It's
wants to
essentially
get
that,
paid. Calgary's
basically.
not going to pay him. And the other
But
thing
there's
is,
like so many other guys that would get rid of
he's
before.
not
I even
utilized
get rid
right.
of.
And now they have Daryl Sutter, which is a very
Because-
defensive coach. So that ruins his game even more.
but think about it this way, okay? Calgary's face of the franchise at the moment, right now, is Matthew Tkachuk. He's the highest paid player on the team. He's their face of the franchise.
And the heart and
Matthew
soul,
Tkachuk
basically.
is going to ask for a contract at the end of the year, right? Because he's got RFA. He's gonna need a contract. Calgary's got a situation here where if they bring in a guy like Jack Eichel, you could go to Matthew Tkachuk and say, "Listen, we brought in a number 1 center, an elite number 1 center, who we think is going to be healthy next season and ready to play. We're going to give you a contract to go play on this guy's first line with him." So what you're doing now is you're building your team around
It's
Jack
not
Eichel.
like that anymore.
Well, that's
It's
how it is.
not like that anymore.
That's what
Did
it is.
Mitch Marner and Nylander and
But we're talking
Matthews
with the
do
Toronto
that
Yeah, but the Toronto Maple
with
Leafs
the team that they
but
have?
the Toronto Maple Leafs did not know how to give out contracts.
It's not that.
Dude.
And I said this in the last video too. You're playing in a league, and you could tell just by Jack Eichel. Okay, you're playing in a league that every single game there's a chance that you potentially get injured and you can't play again. So if you're gonna get that guaranteed payday to secure
but
your
what
rest
I'm-
of your
what
life
I'm trying
because
to
they
tell you
retire young,
If you had to tell
it's-
Matthew
they're
Tkachuk,
gonna get it done.
if you had to tell Matthew Tkachuk, hey, you're going to play with Sean Monahan for the rest of your career, we're going to give you $9 million to go play with Sean Monahan for the rest of your career, or we're going to give you $8.5 million, but you're going to go play with Jack Eichel. What do you think he's going to take?
Well, 8.5. Well, 500,000 less is a reasonable cut, but what you're asking for is millions of
Well,
dollars
no,
of a cut,
because
not
because
500K.
he makes $7 million this year. I think he'll get a raise, not a big raise. I don't think he'll make $10 million, and I don't think he'll make $9 million. But I think if you're Matthew Tkachuk, and knowing the Tkachuks and how they negotiate, they're probably going to go
Yeah,
up
very
to
stubborn.
$9.5 million. So if you're Matthew Tkachuk, you've got a situation here where if you're Calgary, you got to go, okay, listen, we're going to get this elite player and you're going to sign for this price because we're getting this elite player.
But for me,
And
it's
Matthew
more than
Tkachuk is
that.
going to appreciate the fact that they went to go get Jack Eichel because Matthew Tkachuk, I think, would much rather play with Jack Eichel than play with Sean
But
Monahan.
look, in
No matter
Calgary's,
how the situation looks.
in
That's just me.
Calgary's situation now, how many years have they had this top 6 intact and they've gone
Oh,
nowhere?
It's been a good,
It's time
good 5
to
years.
blow up
Yeah,
the top 6, which they
That's it.
haven't done. And they keep on
Just blow it
promising
up.
they're going to keep on doing it, having
Goudreau's
doing
not coming back.
adjustments
We
and
know
stuff.
Goudreau's not coming back.
I know that.
So
Keep on doing adjustments and whatever. And it seems like they've been losing more on their defense. They've been losing on their offense. And they're not even getting anything in return for that. They just lost Mark Giordano for absolutely nothing
That's
to the
it.
Seattle Kraken.
Yep.
And it's time to blow up the top 6. It's not working. It hasn't worked for like 5 to 6 years now. You brought in Elias Lindholm,
little, yeah.
and
Yeah, he's solid. I
he's
think.
solid.
But that's what I'm saying. This is why.
But then you have a guy, you have him who's doing well and progressing well. But then you have a guy like Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau who are regressing.
Yep.
So it's like,
well, apparently
you
Gaudreau had a good camp this year, but still, I don't
Yeah,
think he's
it's
coming back
preseason.
as
Who
far
gives
as-
a
yeah,
shit?
Exactly.
anyways, so you have one guy that you bring in that's progressing well. So you fix one problem,
Yep.
but then you have 2 problems to resolve because the 2 other guys that were always consistent are now inconsistent. And then now it's been like 2 to 3 seasons now. It's been like this. So I think that's why Jack Eichel is a perfect piece to go to Calgary. And in that case, you're going to have to give up one of those guys. But moving on to the next team, unless there's anything else you want to really add. The last team we're going to be talking about, and that's the LA Kings. So I'm going to start off by saying, for me, honestly,
I don't think he's going there.
I don't think he's going to go there.
Yeah.
But he's linked
anyways,
there.
I'll give
So
back
we
to
have
that.
to respect that it is a realistic destination because they can afford him and they want him. But they sign a guy like Philip Danault, who which apparently was promised to be a second line center and blah, 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 whatever. And he gets paid. But essentially, if you're bringing in Jack Eichel, don't tell me that Philip Danault is going to outplay Jack Eichel because that's not going to happen. So he's going to be bumped down to the third line where he was playing with the Montreal Canadiens. So he's in the same situation. So what? He's going to ask for a trade after a season after being signed?
Well,
It doesn't
You
make
don't
any
think
sense.
maybe
here's
Plus, you have Quinton
Eichel can't
Byfield
play
as
wing at
well.
all.
he could probably play wing, but I
Or
don't see
Kopitar can't play wing at all.
he could probably play wing. You could convert to
Kopitar
wing.
is going to be
But here's what
their second line center if Jack Eichel is there.
here's what I think. This is why I think Calgary makes sense. Okay, now don't get me wrong. What I'm about to say is going to be a bit weird, but if I'm Buffalo, right? Buffalo needs a goalie. You give them Jonathan Quick. Now, Jonathan Quick is not elite anymore. He used to be elite. He used to be one of the best goalies.
And they
in the
do
league,
need a
but no.
goalie.
But they need a goalie. And Jonathan Quick makes $6 million.
And he
right?
respects the cap.
So at this point, it helps Buffalo because they get a goalie who is still decent and can still play at the NHL level, and he makes $6 million. So for LA, the cap thing doesn't have to worry about them anymore.
It's true.
Then you have a situation here where they want to get rid of a prospect. Well, LA's got a bunch. Alex Turcotte, Arthur Kaliev, Gabe Velarde. They have guys that they can trade away. And if you want to entice Buffalo, LA's got those prospects. And LA said that they want to move on from their rebuild. They're ready to start making the playoffs again. So you trade Jonathan Quick because you don't
And
need
Drew
him.
Doughty's been very vocal about
That's
that.
it.
And it's not the first time he's been saying that. It's been like
That's
2
it.
seasons now.
Yeah.
So
And
you've
he
got-
upped up his game last season. So all the haters saying that he's not worth the contract. Again, he brought it up during the training camp. People bringing up my contract.
Yep.
I'm going to prove you wrong again.
But that's it.
But he needs support. Yeah, they bring him a guy like Philip Danault who is a shutdown centerman. That's a good acquisition for them.
Yeah.
But you need more than that. You need Quinton
But
Byfield to take the
this
next
is-
step. You need your wingers to take the next step. You need defense to take the next step. And
But-
obviously your goalies too.
So-
It's
Well,
a team. It's a team effort.
Here's the thing. The only thing that the reason why I don't see LA as a potential target for them is the whole Danault situation. And
Right,
like
you
some
just put them on
some
the
of
third
the
line.
prospects that they have too, like I don't know. I feel like some other teams have better ones, but
But they do definitely have
at
prospects to
at
give.
some point though, like
Absolutely.
listen, if
Both the
like
prospects
if
are
you're
second, I'm
Philip
curious.
Danault, you got to be realistic and
Kaliev.
see that you're not a top 2
They
center.
have Kaliev Byfield, who's out. They've got this Vladimir Takachev guy who they signed from the KHL. Apparently, he's decent. They have Rasmus
Okay.
Kupari, who's not bad. Alex Turcotte.
Yeah, I could see.
They have Akil.
Because don't you have
Province.
Quinton Byfield, who's a center
Quinton
too,
Byfield's there, but he's injured
and he's
now.
like in the
See,
come up.
I like Byfield, but the thing is
either
that
way, Danault's gonna get squeezed. Either way.
and that breaks the
You know what?
whole.
If you're LA, bro, why don't you just fucking trade Dano to Buffalo? Like at that point, bro, if you're getting
But
Eichel,
they wouldn't.
at that point, if
If you're Buffalo, the GM of Buffalo, you're gonna take Dano.
why not?
I see the piece, the
'Cause
main piece
he's-
going
Shit.
there. The
It-
main
it-
piece
it's-
going there
it's-
is going to be
If you're
Quinton
getting, if you're
Byfield.
getting, okay,
That's what I
but
think is
that's
gonna be
what I'm saying.
traded.
That's what I'm saying. If you trade away Jack Eichel, because let's face it, Kopitar is gonna be second line center if Eichel comes, right? You got Kopitar for another 3 years. He doesn't look like he's digressing, to be honest, in my
He
opinion.
had a really good season
Right?
last year.
That's it. So you're getting Jack Eichel, you have Kopitar, right? You trade Dano, right? Even though you just signed him, you trade him. You trade one of your prospects, Turcotte or whatever, and you trade like another like thing, and you trade a draft pick or
Well,
something.
then
Let's
should
say,
you want
right?
to include Jonathan Quick's contract? in
That's
that?
it. So let's say it's Jonathan Quick, Philip Dano, right? That's 2 roster players they're getting now, right? Both of them that you can trade away.
Yeah, but age-wise, like, listen, if I'm the manager of a team,
age-wise, you have Dano who's 28, and you have Quick who's 35.
And you know
I get
Quick's-
it, but it's a guy who's 28 who doesn't score. Who's he's shut down on defense, but like
but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
at the end of the day, it does matter. You want
Buffalo
some-
doesn't care about
you
winning.
want- but you still. I mean, every team. cares
Buffalo
about
doesn't care
It
about winning.
respects-
Have you
it-
not seen the way they ran that fucking franchise? They don't care about
winning.
winning.
But
It
they changed.
respects-
They changed staff
It
now. It's-
respects
change
their,
shit.
what their value for Jack Eichel because they wanted an established NHL player. They wanted prospects. They want picks. So whether you throw in Jonathan Quick, Philip Dano, they're established NHL players, and you have to also take into consideration they need at least $8.5 million in return in a deal in order to respect the salary cap. So you need to take on either a good player with a big contract or a bad player with a big contract. So you're gonna have to throw in one of those players. Kopitar is not getting traded. Doughty's not getting traded. Byfield, it's possible he's thrown in that deal because they want prospects, but at the end of the day, they need to trade one of their centers because you cannot have Jack Eichel, Byfield, Dano, and Kopitar. Honestly, that's like the best 4 like centermen you could have on your team. Like 4 lines, having those 4 centermen, that's amazing. And guess what? You could afford them if you throw in Jonathan Quick, part of the deal. But do you really want Byfield playing on the wing or playing a 4th line center role? Like, you don't want that, and you don't want the guy that you promised that was going to have a bigger role and a bigger impact on the team in Philip Dano playing 3rd line center. Then you break the relationship between you and the organization, him and the organization. And then you have Kopitar playing 2nd, which I think he's going to be fine with that. And Jack Eichel, when he comes back, he's going to be playing 1st line center. But even then, Jack Eichel is not going to be playing this season because he requires surgery. So throughout the season, you're going to have Philip Dano doing anything possible to prove to the organization that he's better than Jack Eichel, which is impossible in my opinion. So you're just causing internal conflict within the organization for absolutely nothing. So that's why, even though they might be interested, they really need to study the situation here before they do something that's going to cause internal conflict within the organization. And right now, they're trending upwards right now.
Anyways, I think what we should do. Let's just do this, and then we'll wrap it up. Where do you think he's gonna go? Final destination. Where do you think he's gonna go?
It's tied between 2 teams.
But pick one.
Pick one.
And pick the one that you think is more realistic.
Logically,
Ottawa.
Okay.
Ottawa.
You?
the Ottawa Senators.
I think he goes to the Anaheim Ducks. That's honestly where I think he's gonna go.
And it's possible.
I think Ottawa makes the most amount of sense too. I want to go outside the box a little bit. I'm gonna go with Anaheim because I think Anaheim, it would be really
it's
cool.
totally respectable.
I would really like to see Jack
both
Eichel in
could
an
afford
Anaheim
it.
Ducks jersey. I would love to see that.
They're my second favorite team, so I wouldn't mind. If
But
the
that's
Ducks-
what I'm saying, bro. I
The
How are we
Ducks
gonna
honestly,
get his jersey?
I honestly,
quack,
I
quack.
honestly would love to see Jack Eichel in Anaheim.
All they're
Ducks jersey.
missing
I'm
is
not even
Coach
kidding.
Bombay, and they're gonna win a cup if they get Eichel.
Yeah, if they get
Anyways,
Coach
let's-
Bombay and they
let's
get
wrap this
Eichel,
up.
bro, then you need John.
Anyways,
you need Charlie Conway.
I just want to
and
conclude
Adam
the
Banks.
episode by saying once again, very complex situation. It's
Yeah.
fun to
Yeah.
cause a debate talking about this. I'm hoping this gets resolved pretty quickly, as soon
Yep.
as possible, for his sake, for the Buffalo Sabres sake. Well, sorry, fuck them. For their fans, because
That's it.
their fans are so loyal to that fan base.
For
I
sure.
mean, for that franchise, sorry.
Yeah.
And they get nothing in return every time. So yeah, you have all these
I hope-
prospects and everybody that's within the organization, but you've been hurt so many times. You're basically in a toxic relationship and you can't get out of it.
Absolutely.
So I feel bad for the Buffalo Sabre fans. You have my sympathy. Sorry, my empathy, because I cannot relate to your situation. Buffalo is just a mess right now, and I feel bad for you guys.
I feel bad for the fans, not the team. I hope the team.
exactly.
I hope the team falls and burns. Like there's no. I really don't like the Sabres,
ho-
especially after what's happened.
Unfortunately,
That I hope they burn. Like I
Yeah.
honestly hope they burn.
unfortunately,
I can't stand
if
it.
that happens, the fans are gonna be continue
Bro,
to
you
be,
know what?
to be
Just move to
hurt.
fucking Quebec,
So
bro. We need a team in Quebec, anyways, bro. You might as
they
well
never
just
won a
fucking
cup
move
anyway,
there.
so maybe it's possible.
The Rays are fucking bro.
so-
They can't even own a. They have the fucking. They have the Bills, bro. And they can't even do a proper job with that. Fuck. Let's go.
No,
Let's be honest.
Okay, that's another topic because that's my
No,
football
but that's
team.
the owners, bro.
They're,
I don't know.
they're trending upwards. Anyways, I just want to say thank you so much, guys, for tuning in for this episode. Today is a double header, so
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Not only that, please give us your opinions in the comment section. We
Yeah.
want to hear maybe there's teams that we didn't mention that you guys think Jack Eichel is a perfect fit there, considering the medical records, the cap space, the prospects. Basically respecting the trade value that Buffalo wants, or at least close to it. So, do you guys have anything else to say before we conclude?
Just one. I was gonna say one thing.
Yeah,
I was gonna
go
add.
ahead.
I wouldn't be surprised. Usually, when stuff like this happens, where there's like a bunch of teams in the mix, and there's like logical places, he always ends up somewhere completely like no one knew.
Arizona, where you at?
So
Arizona.
I think there's like it's either he's gonna end up in one of the three places, one of the two places that we've mentioned, or he goes to like a complete random, team that we never saw coming.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna make a bold take. I think he stays in Buffalo. Anyways,
No
ciao,
shit.
guys.
Anyways, guys, thank you so much once again. Don't forget to like this video, check out our other content, check out our content that's coming up tonight and in the future, and don't forget to subscribe. But thank you so much once again on behalf of the Young Guns podcast, and we'll see you soon.